So as we gather, let's just take a moment to breathe in and out and feel ourselves arriving in this cyber gathering of the Sunday Sangha. I'd like to mention that I've brought it up in at times that where I'm really thinking about how can we get back to in-person gatherings. And I feel hesitant because of the Delta variant and the unpredictability and uncertainty about where things are at and where they may go. I'm also looking for a place which is available on Sunday mornings. Hi, Virna, nice to see you, and Rocio as well. Yeah, so just to say that I haven't found a place available on Sunday mornings. There is one place available on Saturdays, which would be a big change, maybe not insurmountable or so problematic for some of you, but we'll see. So I'm just saying, if anybody knows of a space in the NDG area or Westmount, Côte-de-Neige, sort of the West End, that might be available on Sunday mornings, maybe let me know. You all have my email address. So let's gather with an open heart and being present in our bodies, being present in this space that we are in, our own space. Maybe take a look around, and even though you're totally familiar with your space, you might just take it in this moment. What does it feel like to be in this space right now? Just me, Euro over there, and what feelings arise around seeing that little disorderly pile of paper on the desk or whatever, and just be with that as it is. So I'm going to put in the chat again a book that I've been working with. On the Parami, 4th week that I've been working with this book, and the Parami are the perfections of heart that are. This is a grouping of teachings that are present in I think all the traditions of Buddhism. They have different, there's some differentiation between how they're presented in Zen or in the Tibetan tradition, but they're perfections of heart, which are a development of the human being, of who we are, that help us to show up in our lives in skillful ways that bring well-being and joy to ourselves and to others. And so I'm working with this book by Ajahn Sucitto, It's available free as online as a PDF. So I highly recommend it. I think it's a series of talks that he gave on this topic, a series of weeks or months, and yeah, I'm just so I just muted someone. So just please be sure you mute yourself so that we don't get extraneous sounds in, and I'll open up for comment at some point in the session for sharing. So these the ones that I talked in a general way about the Parami, and it gave kind of an overview as teachings which bring us the image that Ajahn Sucitto uses is ways to cross the floods, what floods us in our lives, this image of floods, and we get flooded by cravings and desires. We get flooded by a sense of I need to be something, I need to be this, or I have my identity, in being something, and when somehow I feel I'm not fulfilling that identity, my whole sense of being gets shaken. So that sense of becoming or being something, and then another aspect of the floods is this our beliefs. We invest a sense of self. We identify with the beliefs, whether they're religious beliefs or political beliefs, or beliefs about how things should be, what's right, what's wrong. And we can get so fundamentalist about these beliefs that we become rigid and lose our sense of being able to be with the inevitable changes and subtleties and nuance of the various situations that life presents. And even if we're oriented in a certain direction, which is a positive direction, there's a difference between discerning what is right and skillful in a particular context and being tight, that it always has to be like in a particular way. So that's beliefs. And then ignorance, which is just turning off and turning our mind away and spacing out. And so ignorance, which is really at the root of suffering. So I talked about generosity and how generosity is a way that we train the mind to not be so self-absorbed, and cut the way that we cut ourselves off from the flow of life. And then I talked about ethics, which is, and morality, which is another training of the mind, which affirms our sense of interdependence and brings us into a commitment to not harm ourselves or others or other life forms, and really attunes us to the deep truth that all living beings want to continue living and want to be free from suffering. And so it's inevitable that we, just by walking down the street, we're going to step on beings just by breathing. We're breathing in microscopic beings. And so this is just part of the flow of life. But how can we minimize the harm that we cause? And there are different choices that we make. So these, again, it's not to harden around and rigidify our choices about it has to be this way or that way, but to recognize that there are continual choices, moral and ethical choices that we make. And so, so each of these parami open up into the next. And of course, we're working with all of them, on deeper and deeper levels as we develop this practice. So the next one that is in the list is the Parami of Renunciation. So renunciation is a word that is often has these quite limited associations in our culture. Renunciation is often associated with monastic life, and that I have to somehow give up all pleasant experiences. But renunciation is actually a much more nuanced and subtle practice. And it's something that develops. We gain an understanding of it as our practice deepens and develops. And actually, when we are so reliant on pleasant experiences or having certain conditions in our lives to make us feel, steady and okay with ourselves, it's very hard to let go of having these conditions or having things a certain way. And so renunciation, we can see that renunciation requires us to actually have a certain degree of development of steadiness and groundedness in just, I can be okay even if things are not a certain way or according to my preferences. So renunciation kind of comes along as a parami at a certain, after a certain degree of development. So a certain degree of mindfulness, a certain degree of recognizing that I can be with things, even though they're not, according to my preference, even though they might be a little bit difficult or painful, that I can let go of a preference or let go of having things a certain way. Renunciation is really something that in our consumer capitalist world, society, it's a pretty out of the mainstream idea. And we are just continually fed this delusion, fantasy that if we just have more, if we just, have things, a certain way, we have these fantasies of, that are fed to us on television and all kinds of media, that life should be like this, and it can be according to this fantasy. And on Facebook, people keep feeding, their, whatever 1,050 friends, this idea of what their oh so perfect life is. So it's something that we really need to see through, because it creates a lot of suffering. It creates this sense of insufficiency. It creates this sense of, I need more, I need to be something else, I need to change, how I am. And just finding a sense of contentment with what is. The practice of gratitude, just feeling the abundance of our lives, that we have a safe place to live, that we have a roof over our heads, that we have enough to eat. And maybe we haven't always, and maybe even, some of us don't have that capacity right now. I'm watching this series called Made on Netflix. I don't know if any of you have seen it. And yeah, I can relate to her life, because even though I was never homeless, I have been at times in my life, without enough to eat and feeling very precarious. So so it's, even in our experience of being in this country where most people have enough to eat, there are people who don't, and who don't have a place to live and don't have water to drink. And so that we do, if we do, it's a cause for the gratitude and caring about others who don't. Recognizing that and caring and engaging, perhaps having that sense of caring and compassion can lead us into engagement and taking action. So just kind of focusing on renunciation. When it's recognizing this, when we are caught up in this sense of not enoughness, that I don't have enough, that I am not enough, that I need to do something to become something different, and just feeling how that is internalizing something that's projected from outside of ourselves, and how it separates us from our heart and separates us from just being grounded in being contented in this moment. With the body may not be perfectly healthy. The body may not be pain-free. And yet this body is supporting our lives. This body enables us to be here, to sit in meditation, to enjoy the sunshine and the beauty of the changing season. And so just what is here in this moment that I can say, yes, this is, I'm grateful for this. This is enough. And really having that sense of contentment and letting go of the more, the leaning into, I need something else. I need something more. I need to become something different than who I am right now. So that letting go can happen just as we're sitting in meditation, just coming back to the breath, just recognizing, oh, here's that energy, feeling that energy which pulls me away from just being right here, right now with myself. And coming back to this breath, coming back to feeling the body sitting on the earth. And this letting go, Ajahn Sucitto says, deepens into a deeper sense of what he calls relinquishment. Relinquishment is a development of renunciation, which comes from the letting go of always wanting something more, and this arriving and being present, staying with this breath, this moment, this deepening our sense of awareness and an acceptance and openness to what is arising right now. And it deepens into this, what he calls relinquishment, which is building, constructing any kind of self, recognizing that what is arising in my experience right now is not me, is not mine. And so that's an evolution. So it comes from a wise discernment of what is fantasy and what is of value in my life. What am I clinging to, which is a fantasy of what I want to become? And what is, like these real values of having a heart that feels content, a heart that opens to a caring attitude towards myself and others, that cares about what is for my welfare, for the benefit of others, and is onwardly leading toward my awakening. Discerning that my state of mind is the result of my choices. That joy, happiness, well-being, peace doesn't simply arise out of my wishing that my mind would be at peace. It arises out of the skillful cultivation of Dharma. So being at peace with ourselves doesn't preclude that we can develop further. So being at peace with who I am. Suzuki Roshi used to say to his students, you're perfect just as you are. And you could also use a little improvement. So having that recognition that yes, I don't need to become something else. And yet the Dhamma can call me into further practice. So developing this steadiness of heart to be with the wanting, to be with this sense of becoming, to come back and recognize this is what is arising right now. This is not me. This is not mine. I can be with this. I can be with this arising. This is just how it is right now. And I don't need to get hooked by it. I can just let it go. Come back to this breath. Come back to the body. Come back to this space of awareness, seeing how things move through and trusting in that, so that this renunciation is connected with a sense of trust, that there is enough. So there's a poem that somebody shared, Geneviève. It's all on poem, but okay, I'll read it. Thank you, Geneviève. We'll end with that and maybe a few minutes for sharing. It's called Renunciation. There will always be voices that promise you greatness and glory. They call out from the worldly marketplace. They call out from the spiritual marketplace. They call out from the fill your holes marketplace. They call out from the bigger, better, more marketplace. Do not buy their false promises or purchase their ephemeral wares. What fulfills for a moment is not worth the price of your soul. There are heights that will lift you, but not when you try to ascend them. There are powers that will fill you, but not when you try to make them your own. There are treasures and there are imitations of treasures. If you have lost your true gold, at least turn away from the glitter. Want only what is true. This will lead you to the well of your deepest sorrows. Follow that passageway all the way down. Become the dark emptiness of your absent core. Be still. Don't measure the waiting. Be still. Let the waiting become a fire. Be still. Let the fire show its secret heart, a strand of clear light running through. By Jennifer Wellwood. Thank you, Geneviève. That is a very apt and beautiful poem. Thank you very much. So I'm going to I'll read the last verse of this poem, which I think got cut off. A strand of clear light running through you. Gather yourself there, and the luminous universe opens. In that vast expanse, fathomless, infinite ocean of light, lose yourself and find yourself and become what you already are. So as we begin our meditation, our formal practice, let's gather our attention in this space, in this moment. Feeling the body. Allowing the body to be held by Mother Earth. Relaxing, trusting. and attuning to the body in whatever way is helpful to you to help you ground yourself in this moment. Come to this moment of, I am alive right now, right here. I am present in my life. My life is enough in this moment. I am enough in this moment. And if some voice or energy answers you and says, no, you're not enough, just notice that. You don't need to believe it. It's exactly the practice that the Buddha did on the evening of his enlightenment. He brought renunciation and commitment and perseverance to his practice and said, I will not be pulled away. I will not be fooled by the voices of Mara, which is the personification of delusion. And those voices that say, no, you're not enough. No, you have to become something else, somebody else. That's the personification of delusion that's talking to you. Coming home to this moment, to this breath. To this body. Notice when the floods begin rising, the floods which sweep us off our feet and carry us away from this steadiness and presence. Floods of wanting sense experience or not wanting unpleasant sense experience. Floods of becoming. I want to be this. I have to be that. I have to not be this. I have to not be that. Constructing this idea of what we are, rather than letting this moment be open, letting ourselves stay in the not knowing, the not constructing, the not solidifying. The flood of belief, views. It should be this way. It shouldn't be this way or that way. It's wrong. It has to be fixed. I have to be fixed. They have to be fixed. They should say this. They should say that, or not. And the ignorance of just tuning out, turning away, getting lost, drifting. Shutting the door on what is arising rather than turning toward it and allowing it, welcoming it as what is happening right now, as what is manifesting in our life, in the unfolding flow of life. Giving space. To let our experience flow through, knowing its impermanent nature. The pleasant and the unpleasant, and the neutral. Being the space of awareness, which doesn't get hooked and doesn't turn away. you may discover that letting go is actually not an action. It's the holding on that's the action. Letting go is just stopping, relaxing, coming back to openness. And even a single breath, coming back to just presence with this breath, presence in this body. Is more nourishing, gives us more of life than anything that we're grasping can give us. Let's offer the blessings of our practice, all the goodness that we've received. Let's generously offer it back to life, to all beings, near and far, old and young, all manner of living beings, from the tiniest to the largest, beings of the air, of the waters, and the earth. And the earth herself. May the blessings of our practice support and serve the happiness, well-being, and liberation of all beings, of all life. So thank you for your presence, dear friends. So those who would like to stay for another 20 minutes can stay, and those who need to sign off, please feel free to do so. It's good to have you. Thank you for the support that you give, for any dana that you wish to send. It supports me in my livelihood. I hope you have a good week, and hope to see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Daryl.
Bye-bye. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Daryl, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry about at the beginning. I couldn't, I'm on a new device, and so I couldn't assist with co-hosting. I also wanted to say something quickly, very funny. I was looking at the closed captions at the beginning, and just to say that the Parami was translated as the power me. And then the name of the author of the book that you know, which sounded like Ajahn Chita, something like that.
Suchito, yeah.
So it was translated as, I shouldn't say cheater.
I know some of those subtitles are hilarious.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
That's why I don't look at them, because I
but it's fun. The power me.
The power me, yeah. The power of not me. Okay. So thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Have a good Sunday.
Thank you. You too. So, hi, friends. Is there anything that anybody is kind of like resonating with that you'd like to share, or a question or comment? All are good. Yeah. Simon, are you making signals? Yes.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks.
Hi.
Thank you, Daryl, for this wonderful meditation. There's a nice moment during the meditation when you mention it's quite delicate how you put it. To act is to cling, and not to act is not cling. You know, that's just the way that you brought it up was I don't know, it really resonated with me, and because I'm used to do things, you know, I like to do things, and even in meditation I like, you know, having steps, and this is a simple way to just like, well, no, yeah, doing nothing is actually not clinging, you know, and I don't know, it's just nice. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the Buddha talked a lot about stopping, you know, that the practice was about stopping. You know, it's like, and I think it's we're ceasing, we're letting, you know, like, yeah. So I mean, the whole teaching to let go, it sounds like, you know, sometimes people say, how do I do that? You know, how do I let go? You know, getting in touch. And I think for me, it's like in the body, like I really feel that, you know, like when I'm clinging, there's, even if it's a subtle, but there's a tension somewhere in the body that's holding. And when I really notice that, that really helps, because I can just, that can relax, because I notice that, oh, that the body is holding, and if it just, you know, almost like breathing it out, letting it go, you know, it can relax a whole attitude around something that, you know, unconsciously I've been holding on to. Yeah. And the teaching around turning your attention, like in mindfulness practice, we, you know, there's a lot of instruction, especially in the beginning of practice, that when you notice that you're caught up in something, you notice that we're like on, you know, being carried away by some drama, some story, you know, narrative or fantasy. And so the instruction is often just bring the attention back to the breath, right? Just let it go and bring the attention back to the breath. And what we're actually doing in doing that is we're letting go of something that is unskillful, and we're using, whoops, Marilyn wants to come back. Using the body's, the mind's capacity. We're using the mind's capacity to hold on, to attach itself, to attach itself to something that's neutral, to attach itself that's something that's very light, that allows us to be present with a fuller sense of the body and the flow of activity, like our attaching our attention to the breath is a skillful means of using our capacity of the mind to attach itself to something that can bring us into presence and openness, because the breath is generally quite neutral, which, oops, I'm still recording. Well, I'll let myself, I'll just keep recording that. And so the breath is neutral and doesn't really draw us into a lot of drama, selfing, grasping and clinging. It just brings us here. And so it's still a kind of attachment. And so as we develop, we need to open up, because the mind can get too attached to just being with the breath, and it can be too narrow. Like that's why the teachings on concentration are very important, and we have to develop concentration skillfully in a way that doesn't exclude. Ajahn Analyo, Bhikkhu Analyo, talks about the teaching on concentration often being taught as a way which is kind of this single point which excludes everything. And he says, we need to develop it as a way which is kind of embraces. He uses these two different gestures of pushing away or embracing. So that just to kind of take the response a couple of steps further. So,
and if I can finish the word you just said, like embracing, it feels like it relates to like the non-action that we were talking about. The non-clinging is actually embracing, and I don't know, it's just like it poetically fits together. And action is actually clinging. So to embrace is not to, and is the non-action or something like that.
Yeah, to include, yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll turn it off now.